The year was 1975. Muhammad Ali had just reclaimed his heavyweight title from George Foreman in the legendary Rumble in the Jungle. His name echoed through history, but fame came with a price few could understand. Behind the confident smile and poetic declarations lay a man carrying the weight of a divided nation on his shoulders. Ali sat alone in his luxury suite at the Waldorf Astoria, staring at the Manhattan skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows. The city lights blurred as he rubbed his tired eyes. His personal financial advisor had just left after delivering concerning news about his investment portfolio. Despite his championship belts, Ali faced mounting financial pressures. Legal battles over his refusal to be drafted had drained his savings and created substantial debt. The boxing commissions had stripped him of his titles during his prime years, costing him millions in potential earnings. A knock interrupted his thoughts. Howard Bingham, his trusted photographer and friend, entered with an invitation to a charity gala happening downstairs in the grand ballroom. "These wealthy donors want to meet you, champ. The foundation supports children's health care, bringing advanced medical technology to underserved communities." Ali hesitated. Another room full of rich white folks wanting to shake the champion's hand. "Take photos with the controversial black Muslim boxer who dared stand against the Vietnam War." "I know, but this is different," Howard insisted. "This is about those kids. Plus, your financial advisor said networking with these investors might help with that startup idea you've been talking about. If this story has already made you feel something, however small, don't leave without giving back. Comment and tell me where you're watching this video from, and subscribe to the channel." Ali straightened his custom-tailored suit and adjusted his silk tie. Despite his international fame, he still felt the burden of being a black man entering elite spaces in 1975 America. He'd grown accustomed to the subtle shifts in posture, the whispers behind hands, the performative politeness masking discomfort or disapproval. He'd faced it all, from real estate agents who mysteriously found properties just sold when he inquired, to bank officers hesitant to discuss business loans despite his substantial income. "Let me check my digital calendar," Howard joked, pretending to look at his wristwatch, trying to lighten the mood. Ali smiled despite himself. "If we had that kind of technology, maybe I could better manage all these appointments. Someone should invent that, a portable calendar that reminds you where to be." "There's your next business venture after boxing," Howard laughed. "Personal digital assistants. You could call it the Ali Reminder or something." The champion sighed, his expression turning serious again. "I've got more pressing investments to worry about. That property development in Chicago isn't performing as expected. And my financial planner says I need to diversify my portfolio before inflation eats away at everything I've earned." Howard nodded solemnly. "One day at a time, champ. One day at a time." The grand ballroom buzzed with conversation and the gentle clinking of crystal glasses. The space radiated wealth. Chandelier light bounced off diamond necklaces and platinum watches. Executives from health insurance companies mingled with hospital administrators and pharmaceutical developers. These were people who could write six-figure checks without blinking. As Ali entered, the room didn't fall silent as he expected. Instead, the conversations continued, though many eyes darted in his direction. This wasn't the first time he'd walked into a room full of powerful white people, but experience hadn't made it easier. A woman in her 60s approached, elegant in a modest emerald gown, her silver hair styled impeccably. Ali recognized her immediately. Martha Westheimer, widow of the late Senator Westheimer and a significant donor to multiple charitable foundations. Her family's wealth came from commercial real estate developments across the eastern seaboard, and she sat on the board of several major corporations. Mr. Ali, she extended her hand. I'm honored to meet you. The pleasure is mine, Mrs. Westheimer, he replied with practiced charm, taking her hand gently. I've arranged a private table for us, she said, gesturing toward a secluded corner. There's something I've waited many years to tell you. Ali followed, curious but cautious. He'd learned that private conversations at such events often meant uncomfortable political discussions or awkward requests for autographs and photos. They sat at a small table, partially hidden by an enormous floral arrangement. Martha signaled a waiter who brought them sparkling water. She seemed to know Ali didn't drink alcohol. You don't remember me? She stated, rather than asked, her eyes studying his face. I apologize, ma'am. Have we met before? She smiled softly. Not formally. But I was there in Louisville, at the Central High Administrative Offices, when you came in 1954. Ali's expression shifted. 1954. He was still Cassius Clay then, just 12 years old. Martha continued. I worked as an assistant to the superintendent. I saw you come in with your mother to discuss your academic progress and potential scholarship opportunities. Ali remembered that day, his mother's determined expression, her best dress carefully pressed, her firm belief that education would provide opportunities beyond their Louisville neighborhood. She'd worked as a domestic cleaner for wealthy white families to support the family while his father painted signs. You were so polite, so bright-eyed, Martha said. But what struck me was how the administrators spoke to your mother, the condescension barely disguised behind professional smiles. Ali tensed slightly, uncertain where this conversation was heading. After you left, I overheard the superintendent tell the vice principal that Clay boy might be quick with his hands, but he'll never amount to much academically. Boxing might be his only chance. Ali's jaw tightened imperceptibly. These dismissive assessments had followed him throughout his youth, assumptions about his intelligence based on his speech impediment and his interest in boxing. What those men didn't know, Martha continued, her voice softening, was that I'd seen your test scores. Despite struggling with reading, your mathematical aptitude was exceptional. Your spatial reasoning abilities were off the charts. Ali leaned forward slightly, surprised by this information. I didn't speak up then, Martha admitted, her eyes showing regret. I was a 27-year-old woman in 1954, afraid of losing my job if I contradicted my superiors. But I never forgot you or your mother's face, her dignity despite their disrespect. Martha reached into her small clutch purse and removed an aged newspaper clipping. I kept this. It's from the Louisville Courier-Journal, 1960. Your Golden Gloves victory. The yellowed paper showed a young Cassius Clay, triumphant yet humble. Martha had circled the quote from his coach. This boy doesn't just have talent, he studies boxing like a scholar. When you refused the draft, when they stripped your title and your income security, when they called you unpatriotic. Martha's voice wavered slightly. I remembered that 12-year-old boy with the extraordinary mind who'd been underestimated. And I thought about my silence in that office. She took a deep breath. My late husband managed significant investment portfolios. When public sentiment turned against you, he wanted to divest from your endorsed products. We had a terrible argument, one of our worst in 40 years of marriage. Ali remained silent, letting her speak. I told him something I'd never admitted to anyone. That day in Louisville, after you and your mother left, I secretly made copies of your aptitude tests. I showed them to my brother-in-law, who taught advanced mathematics at Yale. He said your spatial mathematical reasoning was comparable to engineering students he taught. Martha reached across the table, her hand stopping short of touching Ali's. Mr. Ali, I told my husband, That young man isn't just brave in the ring. He has the courage to stand by his convictions, knowing it will cost him millions in future earnings and potentially his entire career. That's not just principle, that's financial intelligence most don't possess. He's calculating the true cost versus the moral value. She smiled sadly. We kept our investments in your endorsed products. They eventually performed quite well, contributing significantly to our retirement portfolio's growth. Ali's expression remained composed, but his eyes revealed his attention was fully captured. "But that's not why I wanted to speak with you tonight," Martha said, her voice suddenly vulnerable. "I wanted to apologize for my silence that day. And I wanted you to know that while those men saw only what they expected to see, there was at least one person in that room who recognized something more in you." Martha Westheimer reached into her purse again and withdrew a small velvet box. "After our conversation about your intelligence, my husband became one of your quiet supporters. He believed intelligence manifested in many ways beyond academic settings." She opened the box, revealing a vintage gold pocket watch. "This belonged to my husband. It's been in his family for generations, given to men of principle and wisdom." Ali stared at the timepiece, its craftsmanship evident even from a distance. "My husband had no sons, Mr. Ali. Before he passed last year from pancreatic cancer, he asked me to find someone worthy to carry this watch. Someone who understood that true wealth isn't measured solely in financial statements or real estate holdings, but in the courage of one's convictions." She extended the box toward him. "He would have wanted you to have it." Ali's hands remained still on the table. "Mrs. Westheimer, I can't accept such a valuable family heirloom." "Please," she insisted gently. "You've faced significant financial setbacks for standing by your beliefs. You've been denied opportunities others take for granted, from mortgage approvals to investment partnerships. Yet you've never compromised. My husband would have considered you the embodiment of true wealth management, knowing which investments yield returns beyond monetary value." Ali's eyes glistened as he slowly reached for the watch. As his fingers closed around the cool metal, Martha spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. That day in Louisville, after everyone left, I found something your mother had dropped. A receipt. It was for a payment plan for educational books, installments of $2 weekly. The total was nearly a month of what I knew she earned. On the back, she'd written, "My son's mind deserves investment." The tears Ali had been containing spilled silently down his cheeks. In that moment, he wasn't the heavyweight champion of the world or the controversial figure who divided a nation. He was a son remembering his mother's sacrifices, the woman who had believed in his intellectual potential when few others did. "Your mother invested wisely," Martha said softly. "And now you've built a legacy that no market crash can diminish." Ali closed his fingers around the watch, this unexpected gift carrying the weight of recognition he'd never sought but deeply appreciated. The tears weren't for the material value of the timepiece, but for the acknowledgement of the intelligence and calculation behind choices that many had dismissed as merely emotional or ideological. Later that evening, in his hotel suite, Ali called his financial advisor. "I want to establish an educational trust," he said, "for children with learning differences, kids who think differently but have potential others might miss." "That's a significant commitment," his advisor cautioned. "With your current financial situation and the inflation rate, we should consider—" "Some investments aren't about the financial return," Ali interrupted. "My mother taught me that. She invested in my mind when she could barely afford it." He looked at the gold watch gleaming in the lamplight. and I just received a reminder that the most valuable assets don't always appear on balance sheets. If you made it this far and felt every word, don't leave without subscribing. I tell these stories with my heart in my hand to reach people like you who feel, who get emotional, who live. If this truly touched you, give back, comment, subscribe. Come be part of this family with me until the next video.